What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into Hot Mic Sports. I'm your host, Ben Merrick. Super excited to bring you guys this second video of the top 5 series. This one was a ton of fun to make, as they all have been so far. So if you guys like to see more of it, you enjoy it, be sure to leave a like, subscribe. Make sure you drop your top 5 list and honorable mentions down in the comments. I loved reading them last time, and I'd love to see more of them. So I understand people are going to disagree with this list, of course. Again, this is top 5 shooting guards over the next 5 years. So in 5 years, we're going to look back and say the top 5 guys over the last 5 years were these guys. And this is just who I think it'll be. Also, keep in mind, there are some guys that are classified as point guards that you might think are shooting guards that won't be on this list because of that reason. There are guys like Jimmy Butler is classified as a small forward. I'm not having him on this list. Paul George is a shooting guard. Spoiler, I don't have him on this list. So that might already send some of you guys the comments, and that's fine. And you know what? I'll talk about Paul George before I get into the rest of these guys. So talking about Paul George, I had 2 honorable mentions and the top 5. So he didn't make my top 7. He probably would have been number 8 or 9. Paul George, he's going to fall off a cliff. I give it 2 years. If you look at what Dwight Howard, what happened to him? He found his home, he left, and he started to bounce around more and more and more. We're talking about Paul George. He went from Indiana, right, to OKC, and we thought he found a home there, and now he's in LA. It's been 1 year. They're talking about trading him. Now he's going from, okay, it was Indiana, okay, it was OKC. Okay, now we're going to LA, now we're going to, maybe it's New York, whatever. Especially if he goes to the Knicks, his career will be over. It's just done. He'll have meaningless points for 2 years. That team won't go very far. Maybe it'll make the playoffs, maybe. And then his career will be over. He'll become Dwight Howard, where he found a home, started leaving, and then it's just meaningless. It's all just meaningless. I don't see Paul George being better than these guys. Look, I was doing the research. I thought shooting guard would be one of the weaker positions. I started doing the research on this video. This is a loaded position over the next 5 years. These are some great young players that you guys, I am so excited. There's a ton of guys that I couldn't even mention that I really like. That won't be like a top 10 shooting guard, but like Caris LeVert over the next few years. Guys like that are just like buckets. Duncan Robinson, a bucket. I feel like guys like that are going to be very good. And they won't make this list or really get a lot of recognition, but there are going to be shooting guards, a good shooting guard on every team over the next few years. And with a position like shooting guard, you could have a guy that's a point guard, playing shooting guard that's like 6'4", 6'5". Maybe Darius Garland, I think, he's not 6'4", 6'5", but Darius Garland will probably end up transitioning over to the 2. They have Sexton there right now, who I don't have on this list because he's in between guard positions, but Garland has averaged 3 assists over the last 2 years. I assume Garland will eventually become a 2. D'Angelo Russell hasn't officially been classified as a 2 yet, but I figure once they draft LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards, D'Lo will move over to the 2, or whatever team he plays on. Honestly, we won't know. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there beforehand. So let's get straight into the list. I'm going to mention my honorable mentions first. The first honorable mention is Tyler Hero. We saw him ball out in the bubble. When you look at the 6 guys ahead of him, I don't think he's even close to that league. It was difficult putting him over Paul George, honestly. I think Tyler Hero's best year will be like a 20.5 assist year. Not very good on the defensive side of the ball, but he is a bucket. He'll probably start to average 14 or 15 the more he gets into that like third player role. And he won't shoot the ball too well. Maybe his best year, this is what I think his best year will be, is like 25, 42% from 3, which is it's a flamethrower, but 42% from 3. Tyler Hero is a top 7 shooting guard over the next 5 years, but he won't be anything super special. He'll be a very solid starter for the Heat. Definitely a bucket. He'll have his playoff moments, but he won't be the best shooting guard in the league, or really close to it. Moving on from him, we got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I love Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think he's a great prospect. They got him as part of the Paul George trade. They absolutely won that deal. yeah. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, um, I love what he does on both sides of the ball. It's one of the best things for him is that he's a defender and he's a bucket getter. Which, if you look at a lot of the guys on this list, the guys right above Shai is on that list, but he's a defender. Sorry, but other than that, these are just pure scorers. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a great two-way player. He's one of the smoothest shooting guards in the game. He can hit from the mid-range really, really well. He's a decent three-point shooter. Definitely can get to the basket. I love what Shai does. I think he's going to be a scary, scary player. Maybe some years he'll break the top 5 for shooting guards. But he will never be a superstar. And that's fine. I think maybe he'll have a couple All-Star appearances, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander rounds out my honorable mentions. Moving into number 5, I got Jaylen Brown. Like I said, he also plays very, very well defense along with Shai. Outside of these two, it's just strictly bucket getters, not a lot of defense. But Jaylen Brown, I feel like if he wasn't alongside Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker, he would be averaging 20 already. He's really, really close right now. Jaylen Brown will be a 25, 8, and 5 with great defensive stats guy, and I think that is definitely good enough. We'll have to see what happens if he goes onto his own team. If he sticks along Jason Tatum, I don't think Kemba Walker honestly will be there for a lot longer, maybe just a season or two. But if he becomes a second scoring option on the team, he'll definitely be a 25-point guy, maybe in his best years. And I think he'll be scary, and I definitely think he could jump up on this list. I might have him too low. You got to let me know. At number 4, Donovan Mitchell. We saw what he did in the bubble, but what he always does, he gets buckets. At the best point of his career, he will be a 30-point-per-game scorer. I promise you that. He's working on his playmaking, working on his defense. His defense won't ever really be there. He's a shorter 2, 6'3", but Donovan Mitchell is very, very scary, and he definitely could jump up on this list for sure. Reminds me a lot of James Harden, but his passing isn't as much there. He's a pure bucket, and he is a downgrade. Same guy, but a little bit of a downgrade from the guy I have at 3. And that guy is Devin Booker. It was hard to put Devin Booker at 3. I wanted him to be higher, but Devin Booker is going to be the third best 2. Hasn't made an All-Star game, or he got that reserve, but now he's technically an All-Star. But the disrespect that's been on D-Book's name over the last few years is just insane. And as his team gets better, I think we'll see him get more All-NBA nods. I'm not saying he's going to be All-NBA first or second team. That's why I have him at 3 on this list. But he might have a couple years where he's second team. Might be third team a lot of years. He'll be a solid All-Star guy. He'll definitely be the Suns' building piece alongside DeAndre Ayton. But I love Devin Booker. He's a mini James Harden, who's my number 2. Devin Booker and James Harden both just get buckets. Devin Booker's playmaking is almost there. It's getting there. He had a career-high 7 assists this year. Great stuff. But James Harden is the... When you look at the numbers, he's the best scorer of this generation. I don't think he's as talented as Kevin Durant. But, geez, man, James Harden knows how to score points. Not a good defender. We've known this. He's more competent now for sure, but his playmaking ability... He's got handles. He can shoot the lights out. Gets to the line like no other. Can attack the rim, we learned. He's an all-around, put-together scorer that will, if you need points, he'll drop a 60-piece for you. He'll drop a 50-piece for you. James Harden, with things opening up in Houston, I expect him to be averaging even more this year. So watch out for James Harden. And the number 1 guy... I hope this was obvious for you. Number 1 guy is Luka Doncic. This is my favorite player to watch right now in the NBA, and I live in Milwaukee. I'm watching Giannis. Luka Doncic, he's going to average a triple-double. He's going to win like 3 out of the next 5 MVPs. He's going to be one of the best scorers we've ever seen play the game. The only thing holding him back is his defense, but he will be a triple-double machine. He'll lead the Mavericks very, very far in playoffs for a long time. The only problem is he's going to have to compete with Giannis for these MVPs, and maybe Anthony Davis, but Luka Doncic is by far the best guard, even. And I will for sure be mentioning him in my top 5 NBA players over the next 5 years, which I'll do after I finish up small forwards, power forwards, and centers. Luka Doncic is undoubtedly number 1, a better James Harden, younger. Just, if this is what he is in his second year, I can't wait to watch him 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 when he hits his prime. This guy is ridiculous. I love Luka. I love Shea. I love D-Book. I hope I was wrong about Shea and Book. Drop your guys' top 5 down below. Drop some honorable mentions. Maybe I missed someone. Hate me for Paul George. And tell me when you want me to drop the small forwards list. I'd love to hear you guys' opinions. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you in the next one.